In 1893, a small piece of metal emerged from the soil of Gorakhpur district in Uttar Pradesh. It was a copper plate, barely 3 inches wide and 4 inches long. It did not look like much, yet this tiny artifact, known as the Sohgaura copper plate, is one of the oldest written copper documents ever found in India. It predates almost every other metal record on the subcontinent. The plate carries 4 lines of Prakrit, an ancient Middle Indo-Aryan vernacular language written in the Brahmi script. Above the writing sit several mysterious symbols. For decades, researchers struggled to understand what this object was. When they finally translated it, they did not find a royal boast or a religious hymn. They found a government circular about food security. Traditionally, the Mauryan Empire, which ruled from roughly 322 BCE to 185 BCE, is remembered through its grand stone edicts. Emperor Ashoka carved his moral codes on massive pillars across the subcontinent. These stone messages speak of nonviolence and righteousness. But stone pillars are public monuments. They do not show how the state functioned on an ordinary Tuesday. The Sohgaura plate does. Scholars debate the precise date of the plate. Fleet, an older epigraphist, argued it belonged to the reign of Chandragupta Maurya around 320 BCE, while others place it slightly later in the early Ashokan period of the 3rd century BCE. Regardless of the exact decade, the text reveals a cold, functioning bureaucracy. The inscription describes an order from the Council of Ministers at a place called Manvasiti. The order is issued from a place called Manvasiti, directing officials about 2 granaries located at a town named Vansagrama, which is modern-day Sohgaura. The text tells these officials that 2 specific state granaries have been established. These storehouses were filled with fodder, grain, and lentils. The text is very clear. It commands that these emergency stores must only be distributed during a crisis, specifically a famine or a drought. The plate even names the specific locations and storehouses designated for managing these emergency reserves. This is not the language of a king claiming to be a god. It is the language of a modern disaster management authority. This archaeological find connects directly to ancient literature. The Arthashastra, a Sanskrit treatise on statecraft attributed to Kautilya, details how a king must protect his kingdom during a famine. The text states that the king should distribute seeds and food from the royal storehouses. For a long time, historians did not know if the Arthashastra was a manual of ideal theories or a description of actual practice. The Sohgaura copper plate provides the physical evidence. It proves that the administrative systems described in the text were active on the ground. The state kept grain in reserve, tracked it with metal records, and managed it through local bureaucratic channels. The symbols on the top of the plate are just as revealing as the text. They show 2 3-storied storehouses, a tree in a railing, and a crescent on a hill. These symbols were royal seals of authority. In an era when most people could not read, these pictograms served as a visual guarantee. They signaled to the public that the grain inside the storehouse belonged to the state and was protected by royal decree. The plate itself has holes in its corners. This suggests it was originally pinned to the door of a public granary, acting as a permanent notice board for the local population. The Sohgaura plate forces us to rethink how ancient Indian states functioned. It shows that beneath the grand religious declarations of the emperors lay a highly organized administrative machine. This machine could manufacture copper plates, draft precise legal language, and coordinate resource distribution across hundreds of miles. The next time we look at a modern government relief camp, we are looking at an idea that was already written in copper over 2,000 years ago. What other ancient administrative networks are still waiting to be dug up from the monsoon-beaten soils of the Gangetic Plains? If you want the next one, subscribe to Swaveda at www.swaveda.com.